Alright, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today is the 3rd of July, 2026. This is a video under our main side, one of the 4 sides to us, where our slogan is allowing the body to work. Now, let's talk about this. This video's title is If the Shoulders Can't Reach, the Pelvis Will. Okay? We'll talk about this. I've got this shirt here. It is, summertime here in Utah. State of Utah, the United States of America, where we're based, as In The Image Clothing Company. But I've got this long sleeve button-up corduroy shirt that I threw in the mud. Wow. And I'm going to show some things, mostly with the rear tag in this top. Okay, labeling that comes in clothing in modern 2026 and going forth, if it does. Here's the thing. Clothing, the literal wording of anything physically placed on our bodies, it just has to, at very least, stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. Because if we've got things like oversized clothing, imbalances of any kind in clothing, shoelaces, drawstrings, just ropes tied on or around the body, twisting the entire body potentially, pockets, zippers, buttons, collar seams, in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. Rotated seams. We've got seams that are rotating because robots stitch our clothing in modern day. Things that never could have happened in the past, right? Fairly universal clothing imbalances shipped across the entire earth in ways that never could have happened in the past. We're dealing with a lot of things as human beings. But what's the only thing physically placed on our physical bodies? The literal word of clothing. The way that God clothes the fields with grass. Okay, wow. Yeah, there's only one way the human body could ever work. No possible opinion to it. It's just measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations, determined by the shape and length of our own individual bones within this universal human design. Truly, there's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on it, but we've got a vertical pull to gravity. Okay, I'm not trying to mock people necessarily, but I know that I sound like it, and sometimes I just, am. The horizontal surface to the earth meshes with the vertical pull to gravity. This is a 90-degree angle, a right angle, a perpendicular angle. The body is centered as well, with Earth's vertical gravity pull. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, the jaw, all these things in the center line of the human being. The jaw stabilizes the entire body, okay? The musculature of the jaw goes through the collars of our tops, straight out to the edges of our shoulders, down to the upper ribs, and then jaw musculature also goes up to the crown of our head. So the entire body gets stabilized by the jaw, having to stay in this center. Anyway, we give a lot of free modifications in clothing because of the fact that there's so many imbalances that can potentially be in clothing. We discuss where clothing sits on the human being to not alter the body because within this universal human design, every body who has one or everyone who has a body, it's the exact same. Unless you're extremely, very distinctly different, which is fine, but that's a very, very, very small percentile of human beings. There's the same amount of bones in all the bodies, okay, and muscles, tendons, and ligaments, organs. It only does what it does. They almost hit a home run over there. So, yeah, right. This video's title, through all the yelling, I get it. I could choose any kind of location to film this video in, but I filmed this one here today. I'm only part of the way through so far. If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will, okay? As we say. As I said, here you go. So this is the thing. Oversized clothing, imbalances of any kind, and ropes. And ropes themselves can be imbalances, but anything like this, it'll get our bodies into patterning, but really our bodies are designed by God to work. Designed in the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ. We're a clothing company here. There's your 5-word company name. Just to allow the body to work. We're really only a clothing company for the sake of the functionality of the human being. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, but a lot of free modifications are needed in clothing for sure. If there's imbalances is the point in clothing. If there's not, then you're good. But, clothing has to sit very, very specifically on the body. We have this back and forth bend. A human being from bottom to top on Earth's vertical gravity pull, well, front to back, we oppose the vertical pull to gravity with bends in the body. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, the upper back, just the neck or the cervical spine, bends forward. So the vertical pull to gravity is just straight up and down, and our bodies bend behind it, in front, behind it, and in front of it, behind it, in front of it again, and there's a human being standing vertically on Earth. Because we've got even opposing musculature from all the bodies functioning, and we stabilize in the neutral between the two sides. The entire body has a neutral position. It's just like standing, as one of the ways you could see it. We either lean left from the neutral, or we lean right from the neutral, but no matter what, there's a neutral. You can lean forward though. Check out this. Check this out. Check out the video's title here. The 3rd of July, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will. Meaning if you're trying to reach forward, you've got to get motion from somewhere to go from where you are to more forward. And if your shoulders can't do it, your pelvis will do it. It's kind of like I'm doing a dance move. They love it though. Good old baseball players. Anyway, the body's even mathematical opposing bends aren't going to be able to be there if there's something in the way. Okay, we discussed removing all tags from clothing as one of the things under In The Image Clothing Company. Yeah, because it's a physical gap in the way. On our back, we've got these two bones on the upper back, the shoulder blades called the scapulas. Okay, and there's a lot of motion in them. A lot of motion in the shoulders, bro, naturally. There really, really is. And it'll be there unless it's restricted. God designed the body to work. That's why we have it. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. There's only one way it can function. Abiding by universal laws that are outside of all of us. One of those being gravity, you know, and just physics and how hinges, levers, and rotations move. So, tags are just causing a physical gap. That guy just threw his mitt at the ball to try to catch it in the air. Alright, right, tags cause a physical gap just right behind your spine. We've got even opposing musculature from the central line of the body. Watch this. There's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. Alright, there's no possible opinion to it. It's just mathematics. Alright, but we just don't know why our bodies aren't working if we don't. We understand this under In The Image Clothing Company. The only thing physically placed on our physical bodies is just either going to alter your body or it's going to allow your body to continue to work. As if there's nothing physically placed onto the body after the fact of it growing that we could call clothing. And so you don't have to care. But there's only one way your body works. And so if we place something back here behind our spine, alright, tags, labeling in clothing, but just something like this physically protruding, sticking out, something in the way, even if it's pretty flat, it's there. Causing a physical gap. Alright. So, the shoulder blades, these bones, scapulas on the upper back, they connect to the spine on either side through musculature. Okay. And so the musculature connecting the shoulder blades to the spine, it's got an insertion. Muscles connect to bones through tendons, right? So muscles pull only, and they'll close a hinge joint by pulling on bones where they connect to them, or they insert to them at the tendons. But then we've got opposing muscles to every function that pull, and we can extend a hinge joint by pulling, or we can close a hinge joint by pulling. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Okay, seriously, really. But the thing is, if you've got something just physically on your spine, or right next to it, right? The spine will go like right between these tags and they're stitched on the side. Well, you've got the scapula bone on one side of the upper back and a scapula bone on the other side of the upper back, right? A shoulder blade and a shoulder blade. just two names for the same bone there. The spine bone is directly in the center, and then now you've got this tag, this just physical gap thing in the way, right where the musculature connects these bones of the shoulder blades or scapulas to the bones of the vertebrae of the spine. And now the only way we can stay vertical is if these muscles that connect the shoulder blades or the scapulas to the spine pull. But if there's something in the way, they don't want to work so well. There's just something in the way of them working well, all right? So this is the thing. Watch my shoulders. I mean, there's a lot of motion in the scapulas. Gravity just holds the... Yeah, shoot. It holds, it hangs, though. The pendulum of the hand down from the other end of the shoulder, okay? The whole arm, it's just straight up and down with Earth's vertical gravity pull. If the rest of our body's not altered, things like heels on shoes, okay? Wow, God made feet, heels, that we could place man-made shoe heels underneath and just change the entire body in its bends. The natural bend of the knee, the natural curve in the spine. We just tip the body forward with a wedge under the rear of their feet, unless we accommodate with the bends. It's not an accommodation, that's healthy. It's a compensation of motion not being able to happen normally. It's trying to come from other places. So that's one of the things, you know, zero drop. The term in any brand of shoe, just flat on the bottom, like the horizontal surface of the earth that God made, and like the bottom of the feet's neutral that God made, because then they can lift up, dorsiflexion, or point down, plantar flexion. Only from the neutral though, which is the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. So flat, zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe, before we're ever addressing the shoulders positioning. But the shoulders just hang where they hang. Pant waistlines too, you know, the angle of that. Shoulder seams on top of our shoulders. The airplanes that fly. Let me wait for the airplane noise for just a little bit. Welcome. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. In the Image Clothing Company. Wow. Crazy. No, I understand. I'm aware. Alright, so the shoulders, yeah, when the arms are just hanging straight down with Earth's gravity, that's what it is. The hand's a pendulum. And then you've got this whole lever of the arm from the shoulder. And gravity just pulls our arms straight. Okay? But the arms can come forward and back at just the shoulders alone. Like if our arms are hanging straight down with our hands down at the bottom and the shoulders up at the top, you know, bottom to top on Earth's vertical gravity pull, the shoulders can go forward and the whole arms come forward, or the shoulders can go back and the whole arms go back, just with gravity, okay? The arm hangs. But these shoulder blades called scapulas, they should be able to reach by themselves. Not just extending the elbow to reach, but the shoulders move, okay? The scapulas wrap around the rib cage. And a lot. You notice my spine stays in the same spot. Just evenly bent and vertical. The bottom end of the spine is the hips or the pelvis. This video's title. The 3rd of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will. Okay. Let's talk about this a little bit deeper. This is the thing. Those shoulder blades are the scapulas, the big bones on our upper back. They wrap around the rib cage, okay? The ribs are bones that wrap around our body's lungs. Okay, we breathe into the lungs. That's what holds air, oxygen, okay? Yikes. There's a sternum, a bone in the front of the chest. These rib bones connect into, they then wrap around either side of the body and connect into the rear of the body at the spine, okay? We expand and contract like this in 360 degrees all the way around at the rib cage when we breathe. If nothing's in the way, physically clothing our rib cage in a way that doesn't allow it to just work naturally. You know what doesn't allow it to work naturally? Tags. That's one of the things. In the rear of a top. In this video, you know, there's a lot of things that could go into the same thing happening, the same patterning getting created in the body But yeah, we need to be able to have those shoulder blades wrap around the rib cage like this, right? The arm's just hanging with Earth's vertical gravity pull, but we just move our shoulder blades, or those scapulas, the big bones on our upper back, out and around the rib cage to bring the arms forward. This is the shoulders reaching forward just by themselves. The arm doesn't really have anything to do with this. Like the whole arm from the shoulder down to the hand, it's just there, hanging with gravity. The shoulder blades reach, the shoulders themselves. So watch this. And my spine doesn't. Okay, there's that neutral, forward to back in the shoulders, but they can reach forward quite a lot. But you notice as they reach forward quite a lot, it's pinning the shirt against my spine. There's no tag in the blue top I'm wearing right now. This t-shirt that I'm going to be having on underneath this corduroy long sleeve button up that does have tags in the rear, they're right on the spine. So if I'm wearing this shirt, which I will, watch me put this on, just for the sake of the anatomy understanding and the visual of what's happening in the body. Okay, if I put this shirt on, it's got tags in the rear of it, right? It's got something just physically in the way. You know, you can call them tags, you can just call it stitched in material. Maybe it didn't say anything on it, but there was just material there. Maybe you just had a sock, seriously, back there, just in the way of your spine. It's just in the way of your body's only possible workings determined by the bones connecting directly. And the muscles are just moving those bones. So that's what I mean. Muscles are just pulling to wrap these shoulder blades or these scapulas around our rib cage so the shoulders can reach forward. Okay, but if you've got the shoulders trying to come forward and the whole torso of the human being, the shoulders included, right, the whole top part of the body, let me get this collar in a proper place, but being encapsulated in a shirt or a top of any kind, and let's say in this top, like is currently being experienced by me, there's a tag, just labeling, right, in the rear of the collar, or right below the rear of the collar, like right between the shoulder blades, really, is what it is, you know, not a general area back there. Then you go to reach your shoulders forward, you know, arms still hanging, right? This video's title, the 3rd of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here. If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will. Well, the pelvis is the hip structure, right? Which is the bottom of the spine. Part of the way through the spine, traveling up the back, is where the shoulders are connecting. Shoulders really actually connect to the entire back, the entire spine. In ways, at least all the way from the top to the bottom. Yeah, with different muscles, but you know, right between those shoulder blades, they're connecting to the spine. And then the top of the spine is the base of the skull. You know, and we've got this 10-pound ball of weight, our skull, on top of our spine. Here comes the wind. Holy cow. We have to stabilize our head, okay, on top of our spine. But yeah, if the shoulders can't just naturally move forward, because as we're moving our shoulders forward, wrapping those shoulder blades or those scapulas around our rib cage, we're actually pulling the top tight against our spine. And now there's that physical gap there caused by a tag or anything at all in the way, right? But just labeling and clothing like that, even through the wind noise. I get it. I understand. I understand. It's a permanent documentation, though, on the 3rd of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Because if the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will. So the thing is, tags and clothing. So yeah, watch me try to reach, okay, with my shoulders only. I only get so far. Now I'm pinching that tag between my top in the rear of my body, you know, the back of the shirt here, and my spine. So I'm going to take this shirt off again. Don't worry. I'm still wearing a shirt underneath it. And I'm going to remove this tag. Okay, we talk about it under In the Image Clothing Company, removing all tags from clothing, one of our prerequisites, if you will, but we could just discuss it as it is, just getting any kind of physical gap out of the way, okay? There's just something in the way of the shoulders working the only way they can. Just because God designed the body to work before human beings designed anything we could physically clothe our own bodies with, right? So I'm just going to cut this tag out of here. I'm just going to sit here and snip these stitches with this little pair of scissors. I'll discuss some things, okay? And then we'll put this shirt back on and you'll be able to see that if there's not a physical gap in the way, then you can have the motion that's just going to be there unless there's a physical gap being caused by something like a tag in clothing. Voice fluctuation, brother. Call me a lyricist. I am. In the Image Clothing Company Music, another one of our fourths, okay? We do rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, music geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. Check it out if you'd like to. Okay. We show the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the neutral wrist. Straight out from the outside of the forearm, down and out that pinky finger is the neutral to the wrist, going up or down in that case. But yeah, the rounding to the hands too, the natural hand arches that meshes with the arches in our feet. And they'll affect each other too, bro. You affect the arches in your hands, and it'll affect the arches in your feet. You know, that natural open palm, the natural rounding to the hand. The 4 different length fingers wrapping evenly around the different length. Opposable thumb within this universal human design, okay? The open palm and internal rotation, a video's title, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here currently. Anyway, so the pelvis, the hip structure, right? It doesn't move. When we reach our arms forward naturally like that, by only reaching the shoulders though, what we're showing in this video, right? If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, on the 3rd of July 2026. Well, as the shoulders reach forward, the spine still stays neutral. As the shoulders reach forward, the pelvis that the spine comes down and connects into also still stays neutral, okay, from posterior or anterior rotation. The pelvis coming up in the front and down in the rear is posteriorly rotating the pelvis. The pelvis going down in the front and up in the rear is anteriorly rotating the pelvis. But between the two, there's the neutral, which is the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. I spit then. Which is the same as the bottom of our feet, okay? Zero drop, determine any brand of shoe. How about just pant waistlines staying nice and horizontal because the surface of the planet Earth is, right, that we're standing on? And then these bodies, even mathematical opposing bends within the human being, golly, you know, to stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull require, if you will, the feet and the hips. I'm going to pick this up, okay? The tags here I'm cutting off. But yeah, to stay neutral, to stand vertical. So the thing is, if your shoulders can't reach, well, what'll happen is, since the shoulder blades, you know, the scapulas, the shoulders themselves, really, not being able to reach, connect into the spine, well, the spine goes down and it connects into the pelvis or the hip structure, right? And so what'll happen is the spine will move forward, just bend right between those shoulder blades. Rather than the shoulder blades moving and the spine staying neutral, when our shoulders are reaching, they are, right? They're reaching forward. By musculature moving and our spine staying neutral, okay? If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will, okay? This video's title. 3rd of July 2026 under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. But how is the pelvis reaching for the shoulders? Well, the pelvis being the bottom end of the spine, it's connected to the spine, and so the shoulder is connecting into the spine, not able to reach, let's say. Where they connect into the spine at that location, the spine will just move instead. But that's not really going to work without us just falling forward because of Earth's vertical gravity pull. So what happens is it changes the whole bend in the entire spine. Like I mentioned earlier, and as it is, physics, right? The lower back, the lowest third of the spine, it bends forward. The mid back, the middle third of the spine, which is right between those shoulder blades, where the muscles that are coming straight horizontally back and connecting into the shoulder blades from the spine, or into the spine from the shoulder blades, those middle trapezius, right? There's an upper, a middle, and a lower trapezius. There's a neutral position to the entire body. The shoulders, right? Up or down from the neutral. That neutral is the middle trapezius between the shoulder blades that just pulls them straight back to the spine and just stabilizes too, right? Those muscles are pulling back to stabilize, while the muscles on the front of the body, the pectorals, are pulling forward to stabilize in that neutral. Just the arms hanging straight down with Earth's gravity. But the front part of that neutral is elongating those middle trapezius muscles. And all the trapezius muscles, because they're all connected to the same bones that are moving, the spine and the shoulder blades. But we don't want the spine to be moving. We just want the shoulder blades to be moving, the scapulas, right? If they can't, though, because as the shoulder blades or the scapulas move forward to try to reach, if they pinch this thing, a tag, I will pick that up. Don't believe me, but I will. Whether you believe it. So don't. Believe me. Evan Strong, the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company. Any of our team members, any of our poodles even. Don't believe us with any of our information, because truth is truth, regardless of what you believe. The truth is, that's what's causing your, quote, bad posture, unquote. One of the things is just the tag labeling in the rear of your top. So there you go. Nothing in the way now, right? I cut it out. Yeah, because if we can't reach the shoulders forward, right? This video's titled, the 3rd of June, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will. Well, if we try to reach the shoulders forward, and they pinch that tag, or anything back there, right? Between the clothing item that is our top and our spine, it'll just push the spine forward. But you can't just push the spine forward, like I'm saying, without just falling forward. So the pelvis changes its position, because the pelvis is at the bottom end of the spine. The shoulders connect straight back, at least, directly to the more middle part of the spine, the thoracic spine. Good stuff. Good stuff. These guys are playing some good stuff. It's good sports. It's not even baseball. It's softball. What a similar sport, though, right? All right, anyway. No wonder I was mistaken. They're almost the exact same. The ball is slightly different, and the rules are just, if any, very slightly different. I think they are different, though. Different kind of pitching, and I think the way you can steal bases or something is a little bit different. I'm not much of a baseball or softball player, personally. When I was a kid, I played some baseball. I did. A little bit. Watched some baseball games. What you're watching is me put my shirt back on, because now I've got this top on and there's no tag in the rear of the collar. And it's not really quite in the collar, it's right below it, just like 3 inches, but the same area, because you've got those upper trapezius, the mid trapezius, and the lower trapezius, those muscles connecting the shoulder blades to the spine, and we just don't want anything in the way of the spine or the musculature or the shoulder blades motion either at all. Here comes the wind. But anyway, now I can reach my shoulders, okay? Whoa, and I really can too. I mean, seriously, that's a genuine. I was genuinely shocked on the amount of difference. Like, I understand the need for this. I'm the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. We talk about this all the time. You know, and I'll be talking about this for the rest of my life. But yeah, just removing all tags from clothing. Here's the wind. But it's shocking, actually, the difference. I mean, I can really reach my shoulders forward now by just moving my scapulas. I mean, you can tell, too. Like, visually, I really was going just about as far as I could before, and I was stopping right here because I'm pinching that tag between my spine and my top in the rear. But now I can go much farther, really, without changing my spine. You know, I'm not just like bending my spine. It's my scapula is actually moving, my shoulder blades. And so that's what I'm saying is if the shoulders can't reach, that's what'll happen. You hit a tag, you pinch the tag between your top and your spine, and you'll try to get the motion from your pelvis. Because your arms can go farther forward by just your pelvis moving. You see this distance? That's only coming from my pelvis moving. But you notice my head tips back as my pelvis tips forward? That's what I'm saying. The whole spine's all connected. And so there's only one way the human body could ever work. And something just physically in the way doesn't allow it to. That makes sense. As we say, under In the Image Clothing Company often. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. We just don't know what we don't know. I didn't know. I mean, I wore labeling and tags like that in my clothing until I was about 24 years old because I just didn't know that it needed to be removed. Why is it coming in clothing if it shouldn't be there, you know? Well, it's new. It's just tens of years ago from today's date. The 2026 is the year, but the day is the 3rd and the month is July today. Anyway, there you go. So the pelvis, right? And your pelvis will be anterior. Lower in the front and higher in the rear. It just pushes your shoulders forward when your shoulders can't pull themselves forward. Right? The body's just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. So check out the other 3 sides of In the Image Clothing Company if you'd like to. You know, but, and I'll talk about them a little bit, but we give a lot of free modifications in clothing. You could call this a modification, but really it's just removing something that was stitched in after the fact. It's a secondary thing. This clothing item is still this clothing item. That labeling is entirely different material. It was stitched on after the top was completely made. This is just a used shirt I bought from the Deseret Industries thrift store, but yeah, you know, tags aren't clothing. Labeling like that in clothing, it's not clothing. It's added to it to talk about the clothing, to give information on it, and there's reasons for it, and it's beneficial in a lot of ways, so we know what's going on there. You know, there's legal reasons behind it too, and that's really why it is how it is in modern 2026. Unnatural materials started to get invented, and people had to start labeling what their clothing was made out of so that people knew. Because the body's only natural, and you place unnatural things onto the natural body, and it's a clash. You know, it damages the human being. Things soak into our skin. It's an organ, right? The epidermis, the skin of the body. And there's holes in it called pores. And we can soak this poison into our bodies. Like this, for example. This material, like I'm saying, it's an entirely different material. I will pick that up and go throw it away is the point. I picked it up and I put it back down on the ground, but I'll throw it away when I leave here. You know, I'll take it with me. The garbage, because it's garbage, okay? That's what I mean. It's unnatural materials, and so it's litter for the planet Earth. It's litter for the body, if you will. I'm not kidding. It damages the body. It's synthetic, fake material. Even if it's the same material as your clothing item, and they just stitched another little piece of material in there with labeling on it, it's just in the way physically. I mean, these are things that some of the things that founded In the Image Clothing Company. This is really hitting me hard. All of a sudden, I'm starting to stutter because this is really huge. Shoelaces, drawstrings, and things like tags and clothing are really what founded In the Image Clothing Company through me, Evan Strong. You know, these are huge things. The little ones. Remove the tags from your clothing. Otherwise, your shoulders won't reach. And here's this video's title. On the 3rd of July, 2026. If the shoulders can't reach, the pelvis will. Okay? But the shoulders should reach far forward. Really, much farther than people are used to, at least. Within patterning. And almost everyone is in modern day. We just live in this unnatural, modern, man-made world. Placed onto God's natural earth. And things don't mess with our bodies, because God designed the body to work on the natural earth, the natural human being, that then designed all this unnatural stuff. And sometimes it's okay, you know, sometimes it's very beneficial, but There's a lot of things that are very much damaging us as human beings, and we just don't know if we don't know. So this is where In The Image Clothing Company comes in. I told you I'm a lyricist. I mean it. But yeah, you know, we discuss a lot of things. I mean, we discuss life. Everything you're doing in life, you're doing it in and through whatever is physically, literally clothing your body. There's truly only one way the human being could ever possibly work. It's just a mechanical machine. Anyway, I mean, we give free modifications in clothing, but we also just give modifications, if you will, on approaching life, just so we don't alter our bodies in this unnatural, modern, man-made world. So, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, In The Image Clothing Company podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 209 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast as of today's date, the 3rd of July, 2026. You don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but we're all just the same thing in this universal human design. Human beings placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. We just have deep discussions on life as it is. Deep insights on life are given there under In The Image Clothing Company podcast. You know, we'll breed poodles under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. We give information that applies to all dogs on letting dogs stay natural, the same thing as allowing the body to work for the human beings here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. We specialize in the large or standard size purebred poodle. Thank you. You know, we'll have clothing available. Just doing the very basic 3 things at least is what I can, you know, guarantee. We're going to do all that we can to have it be. Staying centered, fitting correct, and being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. But you don't have to purchase stuff from us. But you just have to know what you need to know, because there's only one way your body works. Yeah, free modifications in clothing, that's a big deal, and we give a lot of them, so check it out. Yeah, thank you. This is awesome.